Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 37th Recurring Platform and Treasury Council meeting. Today, we'll cover governance initiatives, platform developments, and upcoming proposals. Please post the chat and the agenda now, Derek. Thank you. These bi-weekly meetings provide transparency into council operations, offer proposers a forum to present directly to council members and community, and maintain consistent communication across our global ecosystem. What we're building, the Internet of Money. 7 billion people connected by mobile phones, yet unable to truly own and move money the way they own and move data. The Telcoin Association is changing that, establishing Telcoin Network and Tel as the blockchain and token standard for global communications. Telecom runs the internet. With Telcoin Network, they also process blocks, securing the settlement layer for digital finance accessible to every mobile subscriber worldwide. The platform architecture, 3 integrated layers working as one system. The first is Telcoin Network, EVM compatible layer 1 blockchain, validated exclusively by the GSMA mobile network operators, introducing an entirely new revenue stream for telecoms. Telex, liquidity layer enabling user-owned self-custodial asset exchanges. 10, mobile applications connecting users to blockchain financial services and each other. There are 4 minor groups with one shared governance. That platform operates through equal stakeholders. The validators, GMSA, MNO securing the blockchain and earning transaction fees. Liquidity miners, providing liquidity to enable decentralized exchanges. Developers, building compliant mobile applications. Stakers, users driving adoption and connecting payment networks. Each miner earns fees and Tel issuance, allowing telecoms, developers, liquidity providers, and users across the value chain. GMSA validation rights scale to billions through existing infrastructure. Distributed ownership turns participants into defenders, viral at launch, defendable at scale. Tel, the native token. Tel powers the network as a gas token, staking asset and governance mechanisms. Miners stake Tel to participate, earn fees from transactions, and harvest from issuance flows. Stake Tel determines both earning power and governance influence. Democratic governance. The Tel Association operates as a Swiss Verein with 5 elective councils. Platform and Treasury councils hold global authority over platform-wide systems and token economics. We work alongside TAN Council, Telex Council, and Compliance Council. Our dual mandate. We oversee sustainable platform provisioning, planning infrastructure and collective goods, and responsible Tel allocation, regulating token distribution for miners to harvest based on productive contributions. Why this matters. Every decision, whether we achieve our vision, uniting GSMA mobile operators and billions of users around shared blockchain infrastructure, where money moves like data, accessible to every phone globally. Our commitments. As your elected representatives, we commit to thoughtful proposal review, consistent communication, transparent platform updates, and faithful execution of the governance framework you entrusted to us. Now let's proceed with today's agenda. This is the recap from the last meeting. At our 36th recurring Platform and Treasury Council meeting, we covered a wide range of updates across Telcoin network development, MNO testnet node deployment, security progress, Telpets testing, strategic telecom advisory work, the unified web presence, communications and market supporting MiCA registration progress, and community questions. Telcoin network development. Grant shared that Telpets continue to be really useful for live network testing. The transaction volume helped uncover a tricky race condition involving the new database layer, which is exactly the type of issue the team wants to find before mainnet. He also confirmed that the team has now started deployment testnet nodes and MNO data centers. The early work has already produced useful feedback on how to better support MNOs as they install, sync, and operate new nodes on the network. Grant explained that the team is now working through smaller improvements to make that process smoother. This includes things like official bash scripts, pre-built container images, and public binary releases through GitHub, which should make it easier for MNOs, observer nodes, and dApp developers to connect to the network. The current development focus is still on finishing the final state change work. This will help the team manage and configure the network through on-chain state, instead of needing large coordinated node deployments and upgrades every time changes are made. Security progress. Grant also gave an update on security. Automated security scans are still being used across key areas of the code base, and they continue to give the team useful feedback of where the protocol can be strengthened. He also explained that the team is looking closely at the recent Layer 0 related incident and is speaking directly with bridge experts to learn from the post-mortem findings. Those lessons are being used to support Telcoin Network's own approach to bridge design, configuration, redundant RPC nodes, and wider production readiness. Security remains the main priority. Grant explained that AI-assisted review is now part of the development workflow, helping the team review pull requests, understand wider protocol impact, finding issues, and avoiding introducing new vulnerabilities. Third-party security assessments. Grant also clarified the next stage of human security assessments. The association still has 8 weeks of researchers' time available for Spearbit and Cantina. The team has identified 5 important areas of the protocol that needs extra security because they are high stakes, public facing, or could have serious consequences if anything went wrong. Before using that external researcher time, the engineering team is first exhausting internal and AI-assisted review. This means known issues can be found and fixed earlier, while also making sure the external researchers are used as effectively as possible. Grant also clarified that the 8 weeks of researcher time does not need to happen in one straight line. Different assessments can be scoped separately and runs in parallel, with different specialists reviewing different parts of the protocol. Stable testnet and faucet decentralization. Grant confirmed that the next major road step is launching the stable testnet, which is now very close. He also shared that faucet decentralization is in its final stages. This is important because it moves testnet token distribution away from a centralized process and towards a more open, decentralized testing environment. This file set will allow users and developers to receive testnet tokens, test transactions, stimulate activity, and prepare projects ahead of mainnet. Telpet's progress update. Blue Lights also gave a Telpets update. Even though there were 1 or 2 days where testnet went through minor upgrades and pet owners had to pause activities, users came straight back once it was live again. Telpet has reached 269 total users and is approaching 3.5 million transactions, which is a huge amount of activity in such a short space of time. Blue Lights thanked everyone taking part and encouraged more people to get involved. The next informal target is 5 million transactions. So the more users we get, the better. Support is available through Telpet's Telegram groups for anyone who needs help setting up MetaMask, Rabby, or loading the Telpets site. There was also some discussion around the leaderboard. A weekly leaderboard is ideas being explored so newer players can compete more fairly. while still allowing everyone to keep their lifetime XP and progression. Now we're welcoming Manu to the Telcoin Association. Manu has joined the Compliance Council after successfully passing all due diligence checks. Manu introduced himself and thanked everyone for the warm welcome. He shared that he's soon to qualify as a lawyer, holds a bachelor's of law, and is completing his master's degree in Finland. He also spoke about his experience in governance, criminal law, internships connected to the Prosecutor's General's office, and his background in business and economic studies. It was a great warm welcome for him, and we're looking forward to working with him. TelIP, Strategic Telecom Engagement. Parker also gave an update on the Strategic Telecom Advisory Engagement proposal. He confirmed that the Platform Council and Treasury Council had affirmed the proposal, with the voting period still having a complete of days left at the time of the meeting. Parker described this engagement as a potentially major unlock for the association and for the Telcoin's wider goal of aligning the GSMA around shared blockchain infrastructure. The first kickoff session will focus on reviewing the documents already created, refining the strategy, and aligning the work with insight from someone deeply connected to telecoms, GSMA innovation, and blockchain convergence. Parker also thanked the councils and community members who reviewed the proposal and asked questions, noting that this kind of feedback helps improve proposals and strengthen the governance process. TelIP Unified Web Presence, Phase 2 Build-Out. Blue Lights also gave an update on the Unified Web Presence project, which is the larger pieces of work currently being handled by the association. The aim is to bring the different Telcoin Association web properties together into one clearer and more seamless web presence. The first phase, which focused on UX, UI research, and prototyping, has now been completed. The second phase focused on the visual design system and interface design, which is now beginning. This stage will take the validated user journeys and information architecture from phase 1 and turn them into production-ready design system and interface. Deliverables include the design system, UI kit, homepage, association and network pages, roadmap and partnership pages, developer and MNO landing pages, ecosystem and community pages, responsive layouts, and interactive protocols. Blue Lights describe this as the heavy lifting stage before the project moves into the full build-out phase. TelIP proposal, augmenting communications and marketing. Ryan presented the proposal focused on augmenting communications and marketing. He explained that the proposal would allow the Telcoin marketing team to support association initiatives and projects, starting with around 10 hours per month. Ryan made clear that this would not replace existing work from Storm, the Telcoin Association, or TAO Marketing. Instead, it would add support where needed, especially around specific announcements, initiatives, and conference-related content. He also mentioned that content filmed with Parker at MWC could be part of this wider communication push. Adam noted that the proposal makes sense because it helps bring the teams together and supports a more joined up approach to communication. MICA registration update. Hayden also shared that Telcoin Association has been approved on the Interment MICA register. He explored that MICA is the European Union's market in crypto assets regulation, which provides a single European framework for crypto assets, issuance, public offers, and crypto services. This is important for consumer protection, investor confidence, and stablecoin issuance. Overall, it was described as a positive step happening in the background and something that will be becoming increasingly important as the ecosystem grows. Now we're going to the Telcoin network updates. Grant will provide the latest Telcoin updates, including progress across development, protocol readiness, security, testnet activity, and the broader path towards mainnet. Grant, take it away.
All right. Thanks, Angelica.
You're welcome.
Uh, so over the past 2 weeks, the development team has made a tremendous push around the clock. We've closed more than 30 pull requests that addressed bugs, security concerns, performance optimizations, and essentially all the refactors that we felt were required for mainnet that would potentially cause forks early on. So, this work, it marks an important milestone. Our stable testnet is finally live. We just deployed earlier today. So just a little bit of background about what makes this version different. This testnet version release is purpose built for stability. Okay, it's the version that developers are that they can use to begin testing dApps in preparation for mainnet, and expect that their state to be persistent. Where this is the version of the network that should be around and take us to mainnet. This is the version that MNOs can use to sync nodes and validate their own infrastructure in preparation, again, all for mainnet. So the next phase is really just involves methodically expanding our validator set and bringing these additional nodes online in the MNO data centers as integrations are slowly rolled out. So in parallel, we're also preparing to engage in our third-party security experts for these smart contract assessment portions. So we feel really good about having that part of the code locked down and that we're ready to move forward. That also kind of paves the way for us to open up with our bridge partners. Now that we have a stable testnet, we can begin integrating with Layer 0, moving forward with that whole approach. Again, these are all the steps that we are performing before mainnet and kind of like a live dry run, essentially, that before the network has real value associated with the tokens. So this is really exciting milestone for us and for Telcoin network as a whole. So I'm just really thrilled to be here and excited for the community to see like where these next few months take us. So huge thanks to Steve and Halil and Noah and Chase and Nick and Derek and AJ. I mean, everybody, all the council members really been tremendous support in getting here, and it's just really exciting. It's a great day. So I guess with that, we're going to continue to update the roadmap. We've pretty much cleared out phase 2. There's a few things that we're very close to finishing up for phase 3. We just didn't want to jump the gun, but I think by another 2 more weeks, we're going to be even further along. It kind of feels like this is the big top of the hill. So coming up towards mainnet, we still have a lot of serious security assessments to undergo, but we have done a lot of that work up front now. And we're feeling really confident about where we're at and where we're going. The roadmap is much shorter, light at the end of the tunnel. All in all, very exciting.
Thank you, Grant, for the update. Is there anybody else that has anything to say from the council?
Just huge congrats to everyone, to Grant and Steve and Noah and everybody. They've been putting in a shift, and it's just amazing to see. We're definitely over the hill now.
Thank you. So the next part is the progress, right, on the Unification web project?
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that's another huge task that is going extremely well. As you mentioned in the recap, we completed the first stage. 3 stages in total. And after the last meeting, the platform Treasury meeting, we began the design phase, which in essence is building out the design for all the pages across the new site. And it's a lot of work. There's a lot of pages and stuff. So we're halfway through that. Everything's looking great. We were hoping to possibly have something today to give a tease to the community. However, we have to work really importantly next week on content and the final design of the pages. So it wouldn't be right to put out any teasers right now that don't have the correct content, and a lot of the stuff is just placeholder. But yeah, we're getting through it all. There's so much to do, but it's coming together, and we should have this design phase finished within 2 weeks from now. We're sort of halfway through it. So I'm hoping we'll be able to give the community a teaser of the designs in hopefully the next meeting, and then from there, once we complete the next 2 weeks, once the design phase is finished, that's pretty much like testnet. That's all the hard work out the way, and then it goes into the build phase, which is pretty straightforward. It's just to take all the designs, and get them all built out correctly so they work. Everything works fine on all devices and screen sizes, and the tech behind it, the CMS built out. And then that should be it. We should have that all finished. I'm not sure how long the build phase would take at the moment. We're having another meeting next week to go over the small all the hours that are included in it, and when that will potentially start. So next week the concentration is, along with finishing the designs, is the content. We need to get all the content ready for all the pages. So that's another big battle, but we're going to stomp through it and get that done. So yeah, hopefully we'll have something to show the community in the next meeting on the design wise side, and then straight to the build out. And our goal was to have this whole web unification project completed prior or at mainnet. So yeah, we're on target, and we will definitely have that done in time. So it's very exciting. Overall, we're all in the all the paths are converging.
Thank you very much, Nick, for the update. I know the community cannot wait.
Yeah.
So does anybody else have anything to say from the council? The next thing is progress on Telcoin Explorer and Telcoin Explorer.
Okay, so that's me. So the Telcoin Explorer is up right now on telscan.io. So this is going to be our own implementation of the Explorer. With I'm building out for another company a custom indexer for the Telcoin network. So I'm using that for the back end of this to do the indexing and everything. And we've got a couple updates that'll be coming up, but hopefully I'll have once I get with the dev team to kind of see what we need in terms of redundancy and everything. I'll go and put up a proposal for the next time. Hopefully it'll cut our costs down for running that, provide the same functionality as what we have before. It's fully functional now. The only things that we're working on now is kind of like nerdy things like debug traces and stuff like that. And then that should be a go. And then I just wanted to talk a little bit about community involvement. We've got a bunch of Grant and Steve have been doing the kind of yeoman's work of everything. And behind the scenes, we've got a lot of community members that have actually been providing support on the back end to the team, running tests, debugging. We have the tailpets type of stuff. I've put in one massive PR myself for the EXEX kind of external customization of observers and stuff. I put that up there and another couple of testing things. But like right now, if there's developers out there and you're looking to kind of do an open source project and you want to kind of tag your resume with some of the blockchain stuff, this is probably one of the more interesting projects that are out there, just in the way that Grant has designed it, using Bullshark and kind of having a way to do these kinds of transactions without kind of having a mempool that's out there. That's kind of a big security risk in and of itself, and it's pretty exciting. So I would go and if anyone is looking to lend a hand, you need to reach out, check the GitHub repos that are out there. There are people that are trying to actively build things other than myself on this network. So you know, now is your time. If you want to do that, you should go and you can send us a message at devs@telcoin.org. Blue Lights posted that, so thank you, Blue Lights. And then I think that is it, unless someone has questions.
Again, devs@telcoin.org. Please contact us. Now reopening the floor for questions for the community and address any points raised in the live chat.
Yeah, I'll just add something quickly. Part of the web unification site we're building is going to have a dedicated developer landing page as well. So once that's ready, I don't know, in a couple of weeks or a month or two, we'll be able to, send all potential devs to that page as well.
Thank you very much, Nick. Now we are opening the floor to the Q&A.
Okay, give me 1 second. First question is for Grant. Let me find it again. Let's see. Sorry. Are AI audits completed? If not, are there any update when they will be?
Yes. So AI audits will never be complete. That's just the nature of security, right? The threat surface is always changing. The models are growing faster than, so it's in that sense, it's a good thing, right? We stay vigilant. We're constantly scanning. We're thinking of new attack surfaces. We are in tune with the industry, and we see other projects and the sort of challenges that they're facing, and we're trying to incorporate that and grow as well. So, the code base is stable, and it will be stable moving forward, especially for mainnet. But it's also kind of not a living thing, but it's growing with us, right? The project, as it grows, we have new features coming in, and so the AI scans will never end. But that being said, as far as being a blocker, we are ready to start moving forward with third-party security assessments. So in that sense, you could maybe the question is more or less, are we only doing AI security scans? And the answer is no. So we're ready to start organizing and scheduling and moving forward with security audits with our third-party security researchers. So, ultimately, yeah, this is sort of like that. We've entered this third and final phase before mainnet, where really we're not making big changes. We are not worried about missing features or really large, fundamental changes. Like those are pretty much, we're confident that those are pretty much nailed in place, and that we have a really strong foundation. So we're ready to invest the money into having human researchers start looking at our code, because the team is small and we're managing a lot of different things, and there's a lot of aspects to the project. We are going to stagger these in phases, so that we don't have 5 security assessments happening all at the same time, because during a security assessment, you are basically hosting the researchers in your code base and answering questions, helping them to think through any questions that they might have to deeply understand where security vulnerabilities might be found. So in order to just give the security researchers the most support possible, give them our full attention, we will be staggering these 1 at most 2 at a time. And so that's just sort of the phase that we're in now. So yeah. So I think it's good news from probably what you're asking, which is, we're moving on to the next step. We're ready to start human security scanning. So,
Thanks, Grant. Let's see. There was one, probably for Ari, Kansas, or Grant, it doesn't matter. Under address, what are the addresses under quote accounts end quote on telscan.io?
what are the accounts under? So if we go to telscan.io. Accounts, those would be addresses. And so as new transactions, well, as the Block Explorer picks up new transactions, you'll see them here in accounts. And the accounts is just a standard EVM address. Is something that you might have from a MetaMask or a hardware wallet. And it is basically the first 20 bytes of your ECDSA public key. So commonly called addresses. They're technically accounts in the ledger, so both are technically correct, but yeah.
Okay, there was another question about security audits, which I think we answered, Lambro, but if you would like more clarification, I think Grant answered your question, the first one. Those are the only questions that I'm seeing for right now. Is there any more? Please ask them in the chat. I think Ty had one in our in the chat here. So go ahead, Ty.
Oh, hi. Okay. Yeah, no, just a question for Grant really is how many validator nodes are actually running on testnet?
So for today, as of like the 29 minutes ago when we launched it, we have 5. And that is something that we're meeting over the course of tomorrow and next week to install another 6. And then from there, they'll be staggered a little bit. We don't have them directly scheduled yet, but yeah, we'll be working with partners after that to onboard more and more and more.
Brilliant. Really good. Thanks.
Another question from the chat. Will we be able to see MNOs validating on the network? So
yes. So this is something that's kind of on our roadmap and one of those things that, you know, as the protocol grows. So right now we have addresses, we have just bytes, and it means a lot to developers, but not so much to the, you know, to just normal GUI, right? There's ways that we can improve it and make the information more useful and human readable. And so that's kind of the next step that we have on the roadmap. It's a lower priority in terms of just getting to mainnet, but it's something that's really important and really helps users engage with the project. So right now we don't have a way for MNOs to like tag themselves per se with like maybe their company name or something. But that is definitely a feature that we are looking to integrate into the protocol. So a validator could basically give themselves a name that is shared throughout the network. Right now, it's just addresses and cryptographic signatures, but we'll be adding that sooner than later.
thanks, Grant. Another follow-up. Will the community be receiving or get any feedback or see any analytics from the MNO testing?
Yes. So on the Block Explorer, you know, that's a great place to kind of get a global bird's eye view of all the network traffic and the transactions of what's happening. We are, before going to mainnet, we are going to be doing some benchmark testing just to identify any sort of bottlenecks and potential hiccups in production that we might want to address before we complete all of the production readiness checks. But you know, I can't think of anything. I'm not sure if that answers the question directly. If there's a specific metric that you're looking for, you know, I think, you know, the Block Explorer would be a great place to see like general transactions, transaction speed, TPS. And that's something that we're going to like continue to push the limits of. And, you know, with Telpets as well, that's a great place. We would kind of talking to Nick about maybe having some epic boundary parties or epoch parties to kind of like test those boundaries even further. And then, yeah, and at that point, you know, we could really log and identify, you know, how many transactions are coming through in certain bursts. Is there a specific?
No, I think it was just more of, yeah, who asked that question? Tom Kahn, if you were specifically looking for something, or if it was more of a general, you know, yeah, if you could, oh, here he goes. How basically their feedback and how they are perceiving the onboarding process.
Yes. Okay, great. In that sense, yes, we have some private Slack channels. Nick has actually stepped up big time to help us kind of manage that. He's on like version 11 or 12, I think, of basically just helping out with the deployment scripts, which is kind of the first step that we're at with the operators, is, you know, figuring out setting stuff up, managing keys, and really just advising on a security approach. So yes, there is definitely a feedback loop, and it's something that we value very highly and that we, you know, invite a lot of feedback with open arms. So there's definitely a good open channel of communication there.
Great, thank you. Okay, I think I'm caught up on questions. Anybody else that I missed, please feel free to type it in the chat. We'll give it a few more minutes. Just a reminder, the chat has a bunch of the links from what we talked about today. The main one would be the roadmap site, links to everything, as does the telscan.io. All the updates are there. And if there's any developers or anybody interested in deploying anything on testnet for testing purposes, or just want to play around on it, it is an open EVM compatible chain, and you can email us at devs@telcoin.org if you have any questions. Not seeing any more in the chat, Angelica.
Thank you very much, Derek. Does anybody on the council have any other comments or questions? Okay, thank you everyone for joining our 37th Platform and Treasury Council meeting. Next meetings are May 21st, June 4th, and June 18th. 2026 is the year of Telcoin. Mainnet is coming. MNO validators.
Angelica, I'm sorry. I did have two more. Probably just a delay that came through.
Fine.
This is a good one, though. Probably for Grant. What is the biggest technical challenge you've solved in getting stable testnet live? And what is one of the biggest technical challenges ahead for mainnet?
I think by far one of the biggest technical challenges that we faced to get to this point was just concurrency race condition bugs. And to that effect, you know, Steve is he's got like a second career in extermination, because he was crushing the bugs nonstop pretty much for the past like 2 weeks, just hunting them down ruthlessly and squashing them. So you know, that the thing with concurrency is that you can't, they're hard to reproduce, and that's kind of the hardest part about it. Is it just the timing was right, that these certain conditions met and created this unintended consequence. So and sometimes just diagnosing those bugs can be tricky, let alone, you know, solving them, and then solving them in a way that is not creating more technical debt and putting yourself in a bigger hole and turning into whack-a-mole. So you know, I really am just really proud of Steve's effort in that regard, and like how much effort he did and what a thorough job he did. So and that was great. And you know, it was everybody was tackling these issues too, but you know, he definitely went above and beyond. I think the next you know, for moving forward, you know, one of the things that I would say that's always on my mind that is just really technically difficult is security, because all it takes is one mistake to essentially, you know, have a really big negative consequence. So you know, ultimately that's where our heads at now, looking forward. You know, making sure that we don't introduce any new bugs, making sure that we have the protocol as secure as humanly possible.
Thanks, Grant. Papa said he had one that I missed, and there's a few more about specifics on the MNOs. As has been mentioned before, specifics will be announced when the MNOs are going to announce those. That will be announced on both through applications and probably a few other places. I don't know, Grant, if you want to extrapolate, but
yeah, I'd love to tag on. I mean, it's one of the reasons that we're so excited is because, you know, the stable testnet has kind of been a missing piece to the MNO puzzle, right? There's like, they're interested, they want to test, they have ideas for dApps, they want insight, and they want to learn more. But until we had an actual product here to share and to run and to that they can, you know, tangibly like interact with, it's just been an abstract concept. So to be at this point now, you know, is within the last hour is just it really is a huge milestone. So I'm just, yeah, really thrilled, because now it's no longer an abstract like when testnet is here, no, it's like, okay, yeah, like let's talk servers, let's talk about you know, how much you're going to stake, how many nodes you're going to run, because we're ready. We're finally, as a project, we can accept and onboard, and there's no more like, well, you know, it works for now, but it's going to change, and oh well, this part is actually going to change too. So yeah, just really looking forward to the next steps here in this phase 3.
Awesome. This is probably platform / compliance council, but I'll kick it to you guys because I always seem to answer these. Dave or somebody else, whoever. Where did it go? I apologize. The person asked, if I'm not mistaken, questions about wallet and US bank integration will be handled or are for the Telex Council. Thank you. Or somebody from the Telex Council can answer the purview.
Yeah, so I can speak to that a little bit. Just as a general rule of thumb, they are different projects with a shared future, and so we have a strong future and partnership. However you want to see it, but technically these are very separate companies and very different products. So we don't have a lot of insight into the actual workings of the wallet or the bank. We're just as excited to hear the news as the rest of the community is, especially as sharing a vision for Telcoin and the future of these projects are very similar in direction, but we don't have any technical insight or any sort of timelines, unfortunately. But we're really excited about the B5 and the bank launch, just like everybody else is, and we're eagerly looking forward to that news.
Awesome. Thanks, Grant. One more question that came from Telegram. Are you planning on using Mythos to look for bugs? And I believe that's the Claude agent. That's the private one, but I'm not 100% sure. Ari might have a little bit more insight there.
Yeah, we would love to. I've filled out every single application I can find. From my understanding, a lot of the Mythos priorities are with much larger enterprise players such as Amazon and Microsoft. But if and when it does get available, even if it's something where we have to fill out a form and say, this is my prompt, this is what I want to scan, here's my code, you run it, that's totally fine. But yeah, absolutely. If we can get a hold of that and use it, I mean, it's supposedly a very powerful security research tool. And like I said, we're very focused on security. So that would be a great to have access to that. So yeah, if anybody out there in the community can connect us, I'd be very interested.
Thanks, Grant. That's all the questions for now that I've got in the chat.
I had one quick question for Grant, if I could.
Hey, James.
Go for it.
Yeah. Hey, Grant. I was just curious, how do you look at onboarding the MNOs in terms of like countries? What's the like thinking, or I don't know if that's actually even the right, maybe the question or the direction, but do you look at it like from different countries and then onboarding certain ones, or maybe only one per country or one per region, or like how do you? I'm just curious how do you look at that in terms of onboarding them onto testnet?
Yeah, it's an interesting field to kind of assess, with the GSMA being so globally one of the most global industries I've ever understood or had insight into. So we're not being selective as far as do we want, as far as what we want every MNO to participate, and we think that ultimately this is the protocol, this is the global blockchain standard that ultimately will align the telecom operators and just makes the most sense from from other attempts and other lessons throughout the industry that we've studied. But as a side, as an observation, there's a lot more interest on some of these smaller MNOs and some of the smaller some of the MNOs in like other parts of the world that are not, so the MNOs are tiered, right? So this tier 1 is going to be like the giant, the largest sized MNOs, and they go all the way down, I think, to like tier 3. There might be a tier 4, but ultimately, it's this kind of like, we've seen a lot more interest and rapid response from these smaller telcos that are kind of trying to get that competitive edge and get in and are a little bit quicker to move and adopt than some of the larger ones, which is very interesting. And from a geographic region too, there's parts of the developing world seems to have this smaller tiered MNOs, and so in that sense, it does seem to be geographically correlated, that we have certain MNOs in parts of the world that are we have more more signups in certain parts of the world than others. But as far as our team and poaching that, we're open for any and everyone. And we do have, I think we're at 5 continents now that we have MNOs on that are already signed up or, in the final stages of just, contractual reviews. So, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question, just kind of thinking out loud here, but it is very interesting. We have we'll see how it all shakes out, but I think there's a lot of interest, especially in mobile money countries. So, parts of like Africa and Southeast Asia, those tend to be, they're already kind of into the digital money game a lot more so than Western countries that are, like banks is something that is very familiar to me as a American, but is not always, the rest of the world doesn't exactly see banks in the same way.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, that answers the question, and actually answered kind of my other question, which was going to be, if it's not geographic, then is it tier based? So that actually answers it tremendously. So thanks, Grant.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. There's no more questions, Angelica.
Thank you. How about the council?
Yeah,
Nick?
just a quick one. Telpets is back up. It might be a little bit intermittent why these RPCs come.
That's wise. Think about the penguin.
Yeah, he needs to get back on. He's already got withdrawal symptoms.
That is true. That is true.
Everything good? We have no more questions?
All set.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining our 37th Platform and Treasury Council meeting. The next meetings are May 21st, June 4th, June 18th. 2026 is the year of Telcoin. Mainnet is coming. MNO validators are setting up and actively testing. The telecom blockchain standard is becoming reality. See you in 2 weeks. 2026, the year of Telcoin, the internet of money. Thank you.